It never really occurred to me that my wife and I would have trouble conceiving.
Didn't even cross our minds in the slightest.
Having a child was the next logical step.
I didn't want to accept it at first.
I felt like it was my fault.
It hit me like a wrecking ball all at once, all the emotions all at once.
Infertility is so emasculating.
It's made me more aware of how I feel about what's important to me.
I think I tried to escape from it a little bit.
I suppose, buried my head in the sand and thought, it'll happen.
I probably, like most men, didn't want any help, didn't want it, couldn't accept any help.
Probably didn't cope very well with it, just buried it down, I think.
I can't think of one aspect of my life that's the same now as it was before the diagnosis.
Men are as much part of this as well. Why don't we say something?
Last week it was About Time Bandits. This week it's About Time and Smokey and the Bandit. Welcome to Have You Seen? Hello once again, and yes, welcome to Have You Seen, where, as this has become tautology already, we are talking about Time and Smokey and the Bandit. I am Kieran in South London, and over there, from my perspective, is Tom Webb in somewhere.
Essex.
In a room full of... I can see lots of guitars and cameras in his room. I'm not sure.
Pretty much sums up this room.
Yeah. I'm in my living room. I'll give you a tour, actually, of my living room. Hold on, fans. There we are. You can start over there with the exercise bike covered up, and we go all the way around over there. It's a terrible pan. I'm going to get sacked. To the DVD collection. That'll do. And you can go all the way to the consoles if you like. There we are. Please don't rob me. And yeah, cool. That's where I live. Tom can't see that because he sees me through a different camera.
Yeah.
But once Sony in July released the firmware for this camera to turn it into a webcam, someone will be able to see my shot.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, it is the most tenuous of links between episodes 1 and 2 of this new season of 10 episodes we're planning to do. I pitched Tom time-travelling rom-com About Time, and Tom pitched me ludicrous 70s drive-a-thon Smokey and the Bandit. What do you want to tackle first?
Let's do Smokey and the Bandit.
That's handy. That's the notes I've got open.
Okay, excellent. Because, I feel like there's probably going to be more to talk about with About Time.
Okay.
Because, let's face it, there's no intellectual argument for Smokey and the Bandit. It's just silly and fun. Yeah. So I'll give you a little recap.
Yeah.
Smokey and the Bandit is a 70s movie starring Burt Reynolds, directed by Hal Needham, and the basic premise is that two Atlanta sort of, I don't know what you even call them. They're just like these guys that like to flash off that they've got a lot of money. They drive this massive red Cadillac with horns on. They've got matching powder blue suits. They're father and son, Big Enos and Little Enos. And they've got more money than you can imagine. And they've got a horse in a horse race. And they want to celebrate in style. So they want to get 400 cases of beer for their celebrations. They specifically want Coors beer. Because again, it's a status symbol. Because at that time in Atlanta, no one was allowed to sell Coors beer because of some sort of regulations around it being unpasteurized or something like that. Something really bizarre. So you can only buy it in certain states. One of those states happens to be Texas. Now, they have 28 hours to get their beer. So they approach Burt Reynolds, the Bandit, and they give him the challenge. They offer him $80,000. Which seems like a ludicrous amount of money for this, to drive in a rig, like an HGV to us in the UK, to Texarkana, pick up the beer and bring it back without getting caught. So he goes for it because, like I said in the last episode, he's equal parts ego and charm, and he likes to show off. That's his thing. That's what the Bandit does. So he gets his rig, he drives to his mate Cletus's house, tells Cletus what the deal is, and then unveils that he's going to drive a Trans Am, which is going to act as a blocker for the truck. So basically, Burt Reynolds is going to try and draw away all of the cops from the truck so that the truck doesn't get stopped carrying the illegal beer, which becomes more illegal, I noticed, this time round watching.
Yeah.
Which I don't think I realised as a kid. That technically they're supposed to pay for the beer and they have the money to pay for it, but there's no one there, so
That's
they just
in
take
one of
it.
that's in one of my notes. All it would have taken is one shot of Burt Reynolds leaving the cash, like just get the second unit guy to show a hand leaving the cash on the counter, and everything is fine.
Yeah.
But Burt Reynolds steals a truck full of beer.
Yeah.
Also, $80,000 in 1977 money is equivalent to almost $340,000 now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So no wonder he took it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
It's
can't
ridiculous.
drive, and I would do it for that. I'd learn.
So basically, while we're talking about money, I might tell you the stat. This was released in 1977.
Mm-hmm.
Biggest film of that year? Star Wars, clearly. Second biggest film of that year for box office?
Smokey and the Bandit?
Smokey and the Bandit.
Good lord.
Which,
What was the budget on this?
on this, it was $5 million.
God.
And Burt Reynolds took $1 million of that.
Mm.
And the studio rocked up just before they started filming and took back $1 million. So they made it for $3 million. They had two or three Trans Ams, and I think 2 or 3 of the sheriff's cop car.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently by the end of the film, the cop
They had
car
none
that you
of
see
the
at the end of
Trans Ams and none of the cop cars.
Well, yeah, they totaled one Trans Am completely on one stunt. And the cop car that you see at the end is actually all 3 cars salvaged and bolted together.
Oh, good lord. Well, it looks like it.
Well, yeah. So it's just a silly movie. We should also mention Sally Field is in it as the love interest.
So, sorry,
just
one
seen?
second. Okay, so you say this film overall technically ended up with a $3 million budget. Do you know how much it took in the US alone?
No.
$127 million. Wow. This is just a monstrous hit.
Hal Needham was a stuntman. He was Burt Reynolds' double for a bunch of movies. He was just a stunt guy, and he wanted
But he
to
was
make
particularly known
films.
for car stuff, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he made a handful of movies, and he got critically slaughtered most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
He was not very well respected, to the point where he put an ad in Variety. I think it was Variety. He put an ad out which had all of the headlines from his terrible reviews from critics over the image of a wheelbarrow full of cash. Just to stick 2 fingers up and just say,
I'm not
"Look."
surprised if he made $127 million off this thing.
Jackie Gleason was offered a cut of the gross, but he declined it for an actual wage. And he lost a lot of money doing that. And the movie only got made because Burt Reynolds said, "Yeah, I'll do it."
Yeah.
It only
Watching
got made
this,
after
it's
that.
not hard to see why he became a massive star. Like Burt Reynolds was late 70s, early 80s. He was a huge star.
Yeah.
To the level of like, do you remember like Clooney Mania in the mid to late 90s? Yeah. He was that kind of thing, I think.
Yeah.
And like he is nothing but 6'3" of charisma.
No,
and
give me your
charm.
gut. Yeah, give me your gut reaction. Did you like it or not?
It's paper thin.
Yeah.
And kind of underwhelming in the car chase stakes if you're hoping for a crazy non-stop chase movie. But it's fun and it's charming, and I did enjoy it.
Excellent.
I will
I'm
watch
pleased
this.
you enjoyed it.
I will watch this again before I watch Time Bandits again. If you want a comparison to stuff we've talked about already.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Do you know what? It's just an easy film to watch.
I think it's begging for a remake, but I don't know how you do it with modern technology. Unless you made it a period film, unless you set it in 1977.
Yeah. And, it's. I think what makes it work is that they had a script, but Jackie Gleason improvised most of his lines. I imagine Burt Reynolds had quite a lot of sway. I know that they both contributed elements to the plot. So there was no character of Junior, the sheriff's son. in the original script. He was added by Gleeson because Gleeson said, I need somebody to talk to. I need somebody to bounce off.
It's funny because he was a character I didn't really like or care about.
No,
he's just dumb as a post. And
yeah, that's what he's supposed to be. You know, he's just there. He's just there to listen to Jackie Gleason's jokes, essentially.
Which leads to possibly the most horrific line of the movie, which is, as soon as we get home, the first thing I'm going to do is punch your mother right in the mouth. Or words to that effect.
There are, the first thing he says in that sentence is, "I can't believe you came from my loins."
Yes.
So I think the implication is that the wife cheated on the sheriff. But
maybe.
There's a few moments in this, and you're like, oh, and no, you wouldn't say that now.
It's way
but like
less,
any 70s movie.
It's way less racist than I was expecting.
Mm-hmm.
There is only one moment that made me suck air over my teeth, which is where there's one of the sheriffs of the towns they're passing through is black.
Yeah.
And he ends up with his car in the river. And he gets out and explains to Gleeson, he is the sheriff. And Gleeson turns away to the camera and just says, what is the world coming to?
Yes.
And I was like, whoop, can't do that.
Yeah.
But
and before that, he says, you sounded taller on the radio.
Yes, but that's funny.
Yeah, it is. But I think it was like there's the implication of like, oh, you're not what I expected.
Yes, there is that. Yeah.
Yeah,
but that line could be read in two ways, and I think I chose to read it in
the funny way.
Yeah. I would say it is about as casually sexist as I expected, but that's only Gleason's character. Yeah,
so I do think that the bit we were talking about just then that has the twinge of racism to it is that he, and the sexism, is that he is a completely laughable character. So he's
you're not meant to identify with him.
Exactly, you never are laughing with him at any point. No. So I think that whereas other movies that might have content like that, now you're like, oh no, definitely not. This kind of gets away with it to an extent because all of that comes from the character that you
the villain
dislike and the villain. Yeah. So it's almost like it's within his character, so it kind of makes it. I don't know if it makes it okay, but it certainly puts it in context. Put it that way.
I'm really glad you explained the setup to this because I didn't get that at all.
What
at the beginning, like why it had to be caused for a start.
Oh right, no,
and all of that kind of thing. And why they even needed it. Why they wanted it. Like I wrote 15 minutes in, this is the most southern thing I've ever seen, and I've sat in Birmingham, Alabama and seen the local news.
Yeah, it is. I think it's exactly the prototype for the Dukes of Hazzard. Like it's just those good old boys in a car.
It absolutely is. It's a Dukes of Hazzard movie. It's to the point where like, what is that opening title song about? And the way the film opens, it opens like an episode of a TV show. It doesn't look like a movie at all.
No. Well, that's because it was so cheap.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it's got the song that I don't know if I'd say I quite like it. I don't mind it. Is Eastbound and Down.
Yes.
Which is like the big Jerry Reed song.
Yeah. Jerry Reed, who plays Cletus, the truck driver.
Yeah. Who I think is really good.
He's not. He's pretty good. I didn't realise that he was chiefly a singer until I looked him up after seeing the film.
I tell you what,
he acts just fine for an actor in a comedy where he has to play a truck driver. Yeah.
Country is probably one of the genre of music that I'm least interested in.
That and opera.
Yeah, definitely opera. I hate opera. But there are 2 or 3 country stars who I have a huge amount of respect for, and he's one of them. His guitar playing is astounding.
Okay.
There's him, and there's another guy called Roy Clark. And if you ever want to see shred country, YouTube them. Seriously, it's like Yngwie Malmsteen level skill.
Okay.
But country music, and they're crazy. So I have a huge amount of respect for him as a musician, and I like the song. I think it works really well.
There's a mate of mine who will break out into Eastbound and Down quite a lot. usually when we're playing like racing games together,
Nice.
and he has to
Yeah.
drive particularly fast or he has to run away from something, he'll just start singing that.
Yeah.
Um,
Apparently, Hal Needham just turned around to Jerry Reed one day and said, "Can you write a theme song for it?"
Yeah.
2 hours later, Jerry
Wow.
Reed came over with an acoustic guitar, played Eastbound and Down, didn't get very far. Hal Needham stopped him, and Jerry Reed was like, "Oh, well, okay, I'll go and write something else." And he went, "No, if you change a single note, I will fucking kill you." And that was it.
There was actually he has 3 songs in this, and
Yeah.
I seem to remember that 2 of them were quite good and one of them was crap.
Yes,
But I
the
can't remember what
first
the
one
other
is a
good
bit
one was.
naff. There's one called Bandit, I think, and another one.
Oh
called
yeah, I think that was the
Legend.
one I didn't like. I can't remember.
Yeah. Eastbound and Down's the good one.
So I mentioned last week I saw some of, if not all of, Smokey and the Bandit 3 when I was a kid,
Hmm.
and was completely confused by the plot point of there being a fake bandit in it.
Yeah.
Didn't understand that at all. No idea what was going on. There was a song I was expecting to be in this film that must have been in that one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Buford T. Justice, Fearless Law of Texas.
All right. Yes. Yeah.
Like I remember that.
Yeah. Do you know what? I think I've seen 1 and 3 the most. 3's really not very good.
Apparently not.
2's fine, but 2's got Burt Reynolds, Sally Field,
Yeah.
and I think it's got an elephant in it as well. But,
Oh God, that rings a bell.
Yeah.
Maybe I may see all of them apart from this one. I think I had also seen bits of this, so I'm guessing the Enuses return in the sequels
Yes.
because I
Yes.
remembered them.
Yeah. They're definitely 3, I think.
Yeah, I remembered them. I remembered the song that doesn't appear in this film.
Mm.
I remember the Trans Am, and for some reason I also remembered the Enos. I also remember Bandit driving Enos's Cadillac.
Yeah, I think that's in the 3rd one.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe. Oh no, he does at the end of this one, but
Yeah, I know he
very
does right at
briefly.
the very end of this, but I remember it being involved in a chase, which I guess must
Yeah.
be one of the sequels. But they must have brought like the iconic car back for the sequels as well.
Yeah,
Please
they
don't
did.
pitch me any more Smokey and the Bandit films so
No,
I can
it's
figure
fine.
this
I
out.
don't actually.
I'll research
own
this
the
on my
others.
own time.
Yeah, I don't own the others.
You don't own this one at the moment. It's sitting on my,
No,
my dining
That's true.
table.
Yeah.
Coors beer. That's Coors beer. Definitely Coors beer, which gets mentioned a lot and has this
Yeah.
branding in a lot.
And
How did they feel about their beer being moved illegally?
I don't know.
in this movie?
I wondered, like, surely they could have bumped the budget up by $1 million or so with some product placement or something, but I didn't.
Well, there was
I don't know.
plenty of product placement in it.
Yeah,
Like,
well,
it's
that's what
all
I mean.
over
Like,
this film.
if they didn't get paid for that,
Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah.
28 hours from when?
Now.
Because he's never told go. It's just like, we need this in 28 hours. And it's not
Yeah.
like 28 hours from midnight or 28 hours
No,
from...
I think.
Also,
I think it's
28
that-
hours,
Yeah.
all of them in complete, total daylight.
Yes.
It's not night at any point in this
No.
film once Bert starts his run.
No. No.
And they don't sleep, they don't do anything.
No.
Yeah.
They just drive. I mean, the one element of this we haven't talked about is the romantic element of it.
Yeah.
And Sally Field.
Which I wrote, we just randomly pick up chicks in wedding dresses, do we?
Yeah, and so she got the part partly because, well, obviously because she's Sally Field, and at the time she was in some really big TV movie called Sybil, where she played a lady with multiple personality disorder.
Right.
So she was like a very revered actress at the time and wanted to do
Yeah,
something
I
a bit
did
lighter.
think it was odd that she was in it. She was the singing nun, and was
Yeah.
that her? Yeah.
Yeah,
She did something nun related.
No, not that one. I don't think.
Not singing nun. What nun am I
no.
thinking of? I might have to go onto IMDb while we're.
Yeah. Burt Reynolds was very keen on Sally Field.
I bet.
And I don't know if they were already a couple at this point, or
But
they
he was going
became
to have a damn
couple at
good
this
go if
point.
they weren't.
But I mean, that chemistry between them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's-
Their chemistry is great. They are so good together.
Yeah, and that's what I think elevates this movie above just your standard kind of crappy car chase movie, is that the charm that Burt Reynolds has and the interaction he has with her is just it's believable in a weird way.
IMDb, Sally Field, known for Forrest Gump, Steel Magnolias, Lincoln, Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah. It was a massive, massive movie. But I think she's great in this, and I like she doesn't fit the usual bill of a.
She was the flying nun, not the singing nun. For 3, she was in that for 3 years on TV. Yeah,
right. Okay.
Flying Nun and Gidget was a big TV show in the 60s. She was in.
Yeah, Sybil was the one that she was in with the multiple personality disorders.
Oh yes, yeah, TV miniseries. There we are, 76. So just before this, that was the last thing she was credited for before this.
Which was like really heavy going. I think based on a true story as well. I think.
And maybe she just wanted to have fun, like something completely different.
I think so. And let's face it. There are points in this where they're obviously in a car on a low loader.
Yeah.
But there are other bits where Burt Reynolds is clearly driving at an insane speed along the highway while they're doing a dialogue scene.
Yep.
It's
one of my notes is they hammer that fucking Trans Am around.
Yeah, don't they just?
Good lord.
And that's what I love about Hal Needham's stuff. Is just like, okay, his car chases. If you look at it back now, particularly Smoking the Bandit, it's kind of bland. There's some handbrake turns and there's a couple of jumps and stuff. There's nothing out of the ordinary. I'd say that like Bullet is a more exciting car chase.
And Bullet is not an interesting car chase. Bullet's a psychological car chase, not an action car chase.
Exactly, but it's got something there. Whereas this
my problem with this is this didn't really have either. There are a couple of good stunts. So the bridge jump is proper Dukes of Hazzard. Like that thing isn't even in. I know like this DVD is a horrible 4x3 crop.
Yeah.
But that thing is not in the frame when it lands. It was when it took off.
Yeah, it wasn't in one piece when it landed either.
I'd bet not. And the other one is they shoot it incredibly badly, but they jump a cop car into the back of a flatbed.
Yeah.
And it almost lands in completely. And then the next shot, you can see the wire that's holding it in.
Yeah.
I thought for a car guy, Needham doesn't shoot car stunts very well. They're a lot less impressive than I thought they would be. There are places that's crying out for wide shots.
Yeah.
So you can get a sense of where something is coming from and going to. And it's just mid all the time for a lot of particularly for the car stuff. And then there's a bit where
I think there might be a bit of crop going on there with the 4x3 one that we've got.
Yeah, potentially. There's a bit where Bandit calls ahead to a woman called Hot Pants. I didn't get her surname. And she gets all her mates to drive their cars out and block the police. And the guy she gets in the car with appears to be driving something really interesting. Like it seems to be a very odd shape and it's got this massive gear lever that comes up to his ear. You never see what that car is.
No,
because all the cars you see in the wide, but all the cars you see in the wide shot, there's no hot rod like that. And I was like, what is that amazing car? What is that interesting looking car? And they don't show it. And that's where I think this film suffered quite a lot.
They made another.
And that might be budget as well, I guess.
Yeah, I think the next one they made was called Hooper, which is also Sally Field and Burt Reynolds, and the stunts in that are better, but the story's not as good. Burt Reynolds plays a stuntman, so it kind of it plays into stuff. It's again that's sort of a proto. Oh God, what was the TV show?
Fall Guy.
Yeah, Fall Guy. Yeah, so it's kind of a proto.
I loved that show as a kid.
Yeah.
That had a signature car as well. That had the
truck,
pickup truck. Yeah.
But I think the thing with the car chases in this is like I think this is Hal Needham's first movie, so like I don't think he's got that infrastructure, and it's not like now where stunt guys are they're not just learning. They don't just learn to do the stunts. Like they don't just learn. I think stunt guys back then would just do what they did. There wasn't as much thought and effort into the physics and the kind of safety aspects that they do now, and particularly the science of the stunts that a lot of the stunt guys learn now, and the sort of the biomechanics and the physiology of what they do. People put a lot of effort into that now, but also a lot of stunt guys now learn to film their own stunts, particularly fighters.
Yeah.
And I don't think that was a thing back then. So I think he does get, but by the time he gets Cannonball Run, you get some great stuff. But
you've immediately put me in mind of somebody like he's primarily a fighter, a stuntman like Scott Adkins, who like shoots and directs his own action, shoots and directs his own movies, and does it well because he's been doing it on screen and on set for years and years with people like with everybody from no budget, no mark, straight to video people to Donnie Yen.
Mm.
And I guess, like in the 70s, like there wasn't that kind of thing. Like the car stunt guys showed up with their cars they were going to wreck, and the directs just went, crash them over there.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Only one Confederate flag in the film, and it's on Burt Reynolds' bumper. Very
Yes.
impressed that there was just the one.
Yeah. I again, that's something
That'll
I never
get blurred out.
Yeah, I never noticed that until watching it this time.
Yeah, Duke's House is probably not going to get any reruns anytime soon.
No, exactly, and shouldn't do really.
No. My granddad, my dad's dad, was a truck driver, and you can bet your ass he would have known. He would have understood every single word of the CB talk.
Yeah.
I remember him having a CB radio, and the rare occasions, like there was once or twice where he would have to park his cab outside my nan and granddad's house, and he let me go in it and listen to the CB radio. I remember that for sure. He is also, to my knowledge, the only member of my family to ever get in trouble with the law. When he got nicked for eating a sandwich while driving his 18-wheeler on the motorway.
Wow.
This would have been in the 70s or 80s.
Yeah. It's one of those things. I think again, the whole CB craze was just like getting huge, and movies like Convoy and this, and Hal Needham just like he caught a star on the rise, 2 stars on the rise.
Yeah.
He caught.
We did Convoy before, didn't we?
Yeah, I think.
I think we did. I've definitely seen it. And
I've definitely seen it.
I'm sure it for something. I'm sure it was for a Have You Seen?
Oh yeah, maybe it was. But yeah, I think Hal Needham for this movie, he just caught everything right at the perfect moment.
Yeah.
Cool.
It was the zeitgeist movie, even if nobody knew what that word meant in 1977.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I thought you should see it, but there was part of me thinking, he's not going to enjoy this.
It's just like, as long as you're not expecting much from it, it's fun.
Yeah,
it's fun. It's like it's full of holes. Like like we said, them accidentally stealing the beer.
Yeah.
But they turn up to the beer depot, kick the door in, mess around on the forklift, break some stuff, and just leave with the beer.
Yeah. Well, he tells Cletus, leave a note. And Cletus can't be bothered, or he can't spell the name right, so he just leaves. And he's like, oh, God, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
The other problem I have with it is there's not enough emphasis on the time aspect. You are never told how long they have left. You're only told how far ahead of schedule they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it would have had more stakes if it was an actual race against time and you knew, like, to me, 28 hours is a decent amount of time. And also, I found out that I don't know how long it would have taken in 77, but on Google Maps at the moment, Atlanta, Georgia to Texarkana is 10 to 11 hours, and then back again.
Yeah, that's taking into account, current speed limits, an average speed limit of a car, not a truck, because that's the limiting factor is the truck.
Yeah, but this truck gets pulled over for doing 96 miles an hour at some point.
Yeah.
And then Bandit gets him out of it. Well, actually, no. God, what is Sally Field's character's name?
They just call it Frog, but her name's Carrie.
Carrie, that's right, yeah. They drive up and she flicks the bird, gives him the finger out of the window. And is that actually worse to a copper than a truck doing 96 miles an hour?
I have no idea. I mean, it's the States. God knows what cops think in the States.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
The other thing, you could tell it's 1977 in the South. $1.50 for 2 burgers and 2 sets of fries, including sales tax. I think they're in Alabama or Mississippi at the time.
Yeah. I was watching this with my wife and Nick, and we were sitting there watching it. And when he said he was like, "Oh, how much do you?" It was $1.50. We were like, "What?"
Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah.
There we go, Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah.
So after all of that fun and japes, I pitched Tom About Time, which is a time-traveling romantic comedy, I guess. It is both a romantic comedy and a time travel film. I did mention that it is the rarest of things. It is a sci-fi time travel film that has no sci in it. There is no science to the time travel. It is organic time travel, would you say? in as much
Yeah.
as time travel can be organic.
I really, it's supernatural.
Yes, I guess.
I mean, normally with supernatural, you think of some kind of element like ghosts or.
Yeah,
whatever.
I
It's
think
not-
of
it's
some like
supernatural,
otherworldly
it's-
force,
yes.
but I guess this is. Yeah,
This is that, yeah.
yeah. It as you can tell, it's quite hard to categorize.
Mm.
So the basic premise is shortly after he turns 21, Tim, who's played by Donald Gleason, is taken aside by his father, played by Bill Nighy, who tells him the family secret, which is that all of the men in the family have the ability to travel backwards in time. And they do this by going into a dark space, basically clenching their fists and thinking really hard about a point in their life they want to be at. It's got a bunch of caveats, like there's no jumping into the future, there's no
Can't go before you were born.
you can't go before you were born, you can't use it for money, members of the
think you
family who've
can.
tried it.
I
But
think you can, but
Nighy
he
points out
advises
that
against it.
members of the family who've tried it before have not turned
No.
out particularly well because
No.
of it. But generally, like Nighy uses it. He used it to read every book twice. He said Dickens 3 times, and Tim decides he's going to use his gift to try and find himself a girlfriend because he is a lanky ginger who nobody loves. And that's the
harsh,
premise of
but-
About Time. I said that I love it because I'm a man who has a small lump of coal where a heart should be, and this warms that lump of coal. I have problems with this film. It is not perfect, but I love it. I'm a time travel dork anyway. My favourite things are things like Time After Time, Back to the Future, Primer. Something I'm completely hooked on is there's a Netflix series called Dark, which is a German time travel show, which at time of recording is coming back for its final season in about 2 weeks, and I am ungodly excited about it. That was a bit of a tangent. Let's throw it to Tom. What's your general impression of Time After Time? No, not Time After Time, About Time.
So, I said last week, this isn't really my genre of film. I'm not really into rom-coms.
Oh yeah, it's Richard Curtis as well. It's written and
Yeah.
directed by Richard Curtis, and as we said, like I don't know how many. I don't remember if you said like how many you'd seen, but this is the only Richard Curtis film I have seen all of,
I've seen definitely 2.
including this one, or
No, 3 including
additionally
this
to
one.
this one. Okay.
So I only wrote 5 words in my notes.
Okay. This
which
is fucking shit.
I think
balls.
is essentially a Richard Curtis style review.
Uh-huh.
And they are annoyingly posh, utterly charming. Fuck.
Okay.
Because I have to admit, I didn't want to like this film.
Oh yeah.
Because everything I knew about it, I was just like, no, I don't like this sort of thing. It's just not for me. And for the first 30 minutes, maybe slightly less, 25 minutes, it was exactly what I expected it to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, no. Everything was going where I predicted it would go.
Yes.
And the only bit that made me kind of go, oh, actually, that's not bad. At this point was his first date with Mary in the completely pitch black restaurant,
Which is a real thing.
Yes, yeah, no,
By the way,
it's a
yeah.
real thing. So it's a all the waiters are blind, aren't they? So they don't
Yes.
need the lights on. So the whole thing is pitch black, and you just get seated and he and his mate get seated next to 2 women, and they just start talking. And I thought that was really good. I thought this is really nice. It's a really great way of doing a first introduction.
Yeah,
They can't see each other. You can't see
it's
them.
a meet cute where they don't get to see each other. Like you don't get to see Mary until he does for the first time.
Exactly, and you don't get to see how they're looking and reacting to each other. So you don't get to see. So their relationship is building really organically and naturally.
Through personality alone.
Exactly, yeah. So
Mary, we should say, is played by Rachel McAdams.
Yes, so I liked that. I did not expect where the plot goes after that.
Okay.
And yeah, I found it really moving and I thought it was a really good film, and I thought there's a lot of heart to it and some really important life lessons in it.
Yeah, it essentially is there are no do-overs. Make the best of your life while you have it.
Yeah, exactly. And there were things in it that I really strongly related to and found sort of very emotional to kind of watch and think about. And although I don't relate to the poshness of it and the sort of
Well, a little bit.
yeah, not to the degree that they're posh in this. Like, it's
No,
not,
I know.
it felt really alien at the beginning, which put me off. I could
There's
imagine a lot of people turn this off in the first 15 to 20 minutes.
Oh yeah, quite possibly. Like it is Richard Curtis to the core, which
Yeah.
is like eccentric posh people being amusing.
And what I think of this is it is pure Richard Curtis, which is both its possible downfall and its greatest strength.
Yes,
because he's a good writer.
Yeah,
And
I think, now you mentioned that, I think I might have seen things he has written but not directed,
Yeah,
but I couldn't tell you
that's
what they
true.
were.
Yeah, well, 4 Weddings, he didn't direct that.
I haven't seen it.
Okay. But he plays on the Richard Curtis movie. Like it lulls you into a false sense of security, because I was convinced, I know I could write down the plot of this movie from watching the first half an hour, that what was going to happen, and it didn't. And as soon as it started to deviate from what I thought, I was like, okay, there's something definitely different about this. There's something more interesting going on here. And that's when I got more into it, and I got won over by Donald Gleeson and Rachel McAdams and Bill Nighy particularly. And like you said last week, all of those, there isn't a single mismatched casting.
No.
There's
like
no
every
person that I think, when they come on screen.
No, and like anytime, I don't know what kind of rehearsals they had. I mean, I know Rachel McAdams was a fairly last-minute replacement for Zooey Deschanel.
Oh, wow, okay. You know what?
Which I
don't
think improved this greatly.
Yeah, 100% agree with that.
Like everybody has chemistry with everybody else they're on screen with at all times.
Yeah.
Like Tim's little curly-haired mate in London.
Yeah, Rory.
Just like Rory, the little bumbling comic relief guy.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know what kind of rehearsals they had for this.
No.
I don't know, like if they had did chemistry tests when it came to screen tests, because that's a big thing when it comes to screen testing for movies and things. You'll try and match up pairs who have chemistry together.
Rory reminded me of early career Tom Hollander.
Okay.
And Tom Hollander is who Tom Hollander is now.
Yes. I kind of have a Tom Hollander story that I'm not sure I should tell on this show, and probably won't. Maybe I'll tell you afterwards.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because it might get somebody in trouble.
The reason I think I did the premiere for this film is because I know I've shot interviews with him, and I think on more than one occasion. And to be perfectly honest, he is very much like his character in this film.
I will only say that yes, I agree to a certain extent. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I agree with that assessment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go on.
No, I just realised we're doing 2 movies with different Gleesons in, are completely unrelated Gleesons.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, Donald Gleeson and Jackie Gleeson.
Oh, yeah. I hadn't noticed that either. Amazing.
Yeah. So when I watched this a few days ago, again, to prepare for this, I think I've seen this, it must have been my 5th time watching it. And my notes are basically I ended up just writing quotes.
Right.
Because the script, I think, is really good. It's very witty.
Yeah.
When so Tim and his family are from Cornwall, or they live in Cornwall anyway. Which one of the problems I have with this movie is it seems to think that Cornwall is just an hour away by train from London. They jump back and forth between the two quite a lot. And Tim goes to London to seek his fortune as a lawyer, and goes to stay with Tom Hollander's character, who's a playwright, and he's supposedly a friend of Tim's dad. Doesn't remember Tim's dad at all, or like he remembers him being a bit annoying, and he just offhandedly goes, "Does your mum still look like Andy Warhol?"
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, there were some very good lines of Tom Hollander just being.
He's a magnificent dickhead in this film.
Yeah, and you can see he's enjoying being that and doing that.
Absolutely.
But it's a rare movie where there isn't a bad guy. There's
No.
not a villain.
No.
And everyone is likable, and you're kind of rooting for everything to succeed and go the right way. And you get thrown a couple of red herrings along the road.
I mean, the bad guys are time and cancer,
Yeah,
essentially.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can't stop either of those,
no,
really.
no,
Something I did think was, so there are two peripheral characters, both relations of Tim's. They are his sister Kit Kat and his uncle Desmond. And there are background stories of her struggle with depression and Desmond's struggle with Alzheimer's that are really subtly handled and both completely heartbreaking.
yeah. Is his Alzheimer's, or is it like is he just mentally slow?
I think he might. It's hard to tell, but there's a part in this that resonated with me because it's one of the dinner party scenes, and oh God, what is it he asks?
He doesn't
They're
know
talking
who
about
anyone is,
somebody, and he doesn't know who somebody is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that resonated with me because it comes from a story my granddad told me about when he first realised something was up with my gran mentally,
Right.
which is where they got on a train for a trip they planned for ages. They were coming home. They used to have a canal boat.
Yeah.
They were coming home from where they moored their canal boat, and she just went, "Where are we going?"
Right.
And it was at that point he realised there was something up with her.
Yeah.
And I think that moment at the table is where they realise something is really up with Desmond.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Maybe I'm reading too much into it.
No, there's. I mean, I related to a lot of stuff in it, and my gran had Alzheimer's, so there you do see that decline and that kind of those difficult moments where you're having to re-explain not necessarily who you are, but things that you shouldn't necessarily have to explain. So yeah, there is an element of that. I think the two main things that I resonated with are when Tim he goes back to save his sister, but he doesn't realise that going back past the birth of his child will change who that child is.
Yes.
So I found that bit was kind of very poignant because my wife and I had a lot of issues conceiving our daughter, and we came very close to not having her at all. And to think of that, of not having her, specifically her, it's something that's kind of quite close to me. So
I did wonder if the fatherhood part of this would ring with you.
Yeah, no, it really did, because it wasn't necessarily just about the having or not having a child. It's about the specific
child, yes.
And that really was like, wow, okay, that's when I've really got kind of emotional with it. And then I think the rest of it is just the whole spending time with people that you care about, particularly like we're in lockdown right now, so I haven't seen my parents for like months, and they haven't seen my daughter for months. So missing that connection at the moment, that kind of resonated quite deeply as well. So it was an emotional watch, but I think there's such a good-natured and valuable lesson in it all. Like, there's a lot about acceptance of things. Some things are going to happen. Yeah. So you have to make the most of what you got, like you said. So I thought that was really quite beautiful, really.
There's the bit where he realizes, where both he and his dad realizes that this is the last trip he can take back to see him before, because Bill Nye's character is revealed towards the end is dying of cancer, and it becomes apparent that a lot of the interactions you've seen between them have been where either one of them has travelled to see the other through time.
Yeah.
Supposedly, I think I read the story takes place over a period of about 7 years.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I kind of now want a flow chart of their interactions through time, like a chronological.
Yeah.
Because I don't think this is as linear as you originally think it is when you start.
No, not at all. Not at all. Yeah. But I mean, overall, I really enjoyed it. It was a shock.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I would like to talk about the one big problem I had with this film
Okay.
that they could have solved incredibly easily by changing or removing one shot.
Right.
So it breaks its own rules at the end about time travel,
Yes.
because if it moves the way it is implied in the film, spoilers. We should probably mention that we spoil the shit out of films on this show. If this is your first episode, I'm really sorry. We spoil the fuck out of these movies. The final time travel is Tim and his dad travel together back to when Tim was a child and play together on a beach.
Yeah.
Now, if that it is shown they are standing separately in the same cupboard and both using their power to go back.
Yeah.
But if Tim is using his power to go back, he's going back before all his children are born, before he meets Mary, and is effectively erasing his life.
Well, so the thing...
Now, I think they could have fixed this, because previously we see Tim holds hands with Kit Kat and travels back with her.
Yeah.
If they had just had the shot of them holding hands and it's only Bill Nighy using his power, I think they could have done it. I think that would have made sense.
I think they do actually fix it. I think they explain it. Before they do that, Bill Nighy says, if we're really careful, if we don't change anything, we can do this. And they go, it's just them, it's a beach, there's nobody else there, so there's no butterfly effect essentially. And because Tim is so young, there's nothing that's going to knock out of phase any of the other things. So for example, when he goes back to save Kit Kat, obviously him then trying to take care of her means that the child isn't necessarily conceived at the same time and therefore born at the same time necessarily. So that can throw that out because there's other stuff going on around that time. But with this, because they go back to a completely isolated time where only they are present, it almost doesn't matter.
I would have still had them hold hands in a cupboard.
Yeah, absolutely. But they do there is that little bit of Bill Nighy. He says beforehand, I think we can do this because if we're really careful, we can do it. But you're right. When I saw the child version of Tim, I was just like, oh, well, he's just erased his children.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I thought about it that I was like, oh, okay, maybe it's fine. Yeah, it's dodgy.
It's the one thing, like my one major problem with the film. Yeah, like pretty much everything else I wrote is quotes. Apart from much play is made of Tim being ginger. However, his mate Jay is practically a tangerine, and but it's never mentioned. No. There is a sequence I really like from a film. We should probably talk about filmmaking at some point on this show. From a filmmaking point of view, there's one sequence I particularly like, which is where the development of Tim and Mary's relationship is shown just through their interactions over like 6 months, a year, just in a tube station.
Yes, I like that.
So it's them running down the escalator, saying goodbye to each other in the morning, meeting up in the evening, coming back from parties, coming back from shops with arms full of plants and groceries and things.
Yeah, there's some really lovely stuff in it, I think. Yeah, I mean, we should probably move on to pictures.
We probably should.
We've been going nearly an hour, so.
Have we?
Yeah.
Oh God. Oh shit! It's not supposed to be that long. I'll cut something out in the middle. One final thing about Time.
Yeah.
It was an unexpectedly huge hit in South Korea.
Oh really?
Yeah, it did. It did crazy business in South Korea. Something like a third of the population of the country went to see it.
That's impressive. That's very impressive.
Yeah. Right. I feel like I've talked a lot. So.
Sure. Do you want me to pitch?
Yeah, please.
Sure. So on episode 3 of season 1 of Have You Seen, I pitched you a movie. I'm going to pitch you the first of its sequels.
Right.
So way back then, I pitched you a movie called Airport, which was a big 70s disaster movie and it was one of the first. Well, I don't know if it was.
It wasn't
the
a
first,
70s disaster movie. It was a 70 disaster
but yeah, it was
movie. wasn't
1970. It was, yeah. Or 71, 70 or 71, 70, I think. And it started off, or was one of the big ones of that trend of having a massive A-list cast in this epic disaster movie with lots of intertwining stories. And it's basically an airport that gets snowed in, and we watched it, and it was a sort of genre starting or genre defining thing. They made three.
Well, it defined two genres really,
Yes.
because without that, there's no airplane and there's no
exactly. So Airplane
Zuckers and
is very much influenced by Airport and Airport 75, and I'm going to pitch you Airport 75, which is the
Okay.
second movie in the franchise of. There are four. There's Airport 75, 77, and I think Airport 1980. That's what.
so
That's the one with Concorde.
we talked about this during that show,
Right.
and I have since gone back and listened to all of our episodes.
Right. Okay. I haven't.
I've got to do something during lockdown.
Okay.
So I've listened to all of the episodes that we have complete versions of.
Right.
And it was actually Airport 79, but in some territories it didn't get released until 1980.
that's
So
true, yeah,
there it was
79.
Airport 80.
Yeah. So this one, you'll see a lot of airplane in it. You used to watch the
Okay.
you watched the Incredible, not just an airplane, but Airplane is a spoof predominantly of this one and
Yes.
Airport,
Okay.
and
okay.
also a movie called 0 Hour.
0 Hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you used to watch the Incredible Hulk as a kid, right?
Not a lot of it because even though I was born in 79, I'm a child of the 80s,
Yeah.
and the Incredible Hulk was still a 70s TV show, and it looked a bit cheap and shit to me, even as a child. I've seen some of it.
Okay. Well,
There was too much Banner and not enough Hulk for
Yeah.
4-year-old Kieran's liking.
do you remember I once lent you an episode of MacGyver where they just basically ripped out the car chase scene from the Italian Job and turned it
Yes,
into an
I
episode of
do.
MacGyver? They rip out pretty much every exterior plane shot and a portion of the interiors and made an Incredible Hulk episode out of this.
All right. Well, if you own the footage.
Yeah. This one stars Charlton Heston. The very basic premise. I'm not going to go into it a lot because it's a big disaster movie and we'll talk about it next week. Basic premise is 747, load of passengers. It's flying along quite happily, and a small like private plane, like a little Cessna, collides mid-air with a 747, taking out the pilots, and someone has to land the plane.
Is it Charlton Heston?
Partly.
Is he on the short list of candidates?
He is, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you get the picture.
Okay. All right.
It's one of those movies, and I figured I'd pitch it to you because I can happily watch all of the airport movies. The two I watch most are Airport and Airport 77.
Okay.
They get progressively more ridiculous as they go on. There's some pretty cool stunts in this one from memory, and it'll be an interesting watch, and it'll be fun comparing it to what they nicked for Airplane as well.
Right. Well, I've got so many threads into what I'm going to pitch you. You're pitching me trash from the 70s. I'm going to pitch you something to do with trash from the 80s.
Okay.
Breakdancing, ninjas, Chuck Norris, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Dolph Lundgren, and the Lambada
Yes.
were all made popular.
Right.
They're all crazes that were made popular by the studio Canon Films.
Okay.
Who... Nice. I'm leaving that in. They were not mostly like straight to video, quantity over quality, low budget, mostly action and exploitation film producers.
Yeah.
I mean, the company existed, but then in 1979 it was bought by two Israeli cousins, Menachem Golan and Yoram Globus,
Oh, okay.
who had been massively successful
Yeah.
in Israel
Yeah.
and decided they wanted to conquer America. So they bought this studio and just made movie after movie after movie.
Right.
And this, the film is called Electric Boogaloo: The Wild Untold Story of Canon Films,
Nice.
and it's a talking head documentary
Okay.
from like the people who saw all this firsthand, about these two crazy men. One of them was there's a section where lots of the talking heads go through the nicknames they had for them,
Right.
and one guy says, "I used to call them the Bad News Jews."
God. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, and it's full of clips from the films and interviews with all these people. So, off the top of my head, Elliot Gould, Franco Zeffirelli, Franco Nero, not the dictator, the actor.
Right.
Who else is in it? There's a whole Dolph Lundgren, because they gave him his first leading role. Cannon is responsible for Masters of the Universe, the movie.
Yeah. Okay.
So you have seen at least one Cannon film. Yeah. They basically created the craze of ninja movies
Nice.
with what is it? Enter the Ninja, Return of the Ninja, and then Ninja 3: The Domination.
Right. Okay.
And it's just like imagine two Israeli Roger Cormans.
This sounds great. I'm looking forward to this already.
So the documentary is from 2014, and it there was quite some fanfare around it when it came out.
Yeah.
It moves at an absurd pace for a documentary. I actually found it really hard to write notes
Okay.
because it's just over 90 minutes, I think.
Okay.
It moves at an insane pace. It's like edited constantly. I will warn you that there are a lot of boobs in this for a documentary.
Okay.
And because they cover some Michael Winner productions, there are a couple of scenes of sexual violence they have taken from the movies he made for
Right.
Canon Films.
Okay.
Yes. Michael Winner comes out of this particularly badly.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yes.
I
He's
think
dead, so I can look into the camera and call him an odious fuckbag.
I think
he
the
seems like an awful man.
Yeah, the only film of his I think I've actually ever seen is Death Wish.
Okay. Well, Canon are responsible for all the Death Wish movies that weren't the first one.
Oh, okay. I've only seen the first one.
Yes.
I've heard 3
Yes.
is the one to watch.
Well, you'll get to see some of that here.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah, I haven't actually been able to write a pitch for this.
Okay, that's fine.
But on this show, we tend to like documentaries,
Yeah.
and particularly documentaries about filmmaking. And like this is a thing. Like I think I've been trying to get you to watch it since I saw it originally in
I think so, yeah.
like 5 or 6 years ago.
I don't know why I never have got around to it, to be perfectly honest.
Much like About Time, I've seen this 4 or 5 times,
Oh, okay.
and there are people and quotes and bits in it that I pick up each time. I might end up watching it. I watched it to attempt to write a pitch and some notes. I might end up watching it again before we record the next episode.
Fair enough. Okay, cool. I'm looking forward to it.
But yeah, it's for a documentary about. I would say for a documentary about filmmaking, it's bananas, but the film business is bananas anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It absolutely is, yeah.
yeah. So that'll be fun.
Awesome. I'm really looking forward to it.
Shall we make it a regular thing to plug your documentary on this show?
Yeah, if you like. Yeah, sure. Do you want to do it this time? Because I did it last time.
Shall I do it this
Yeah.
time? One of the projects that happened while we were off the air is Tom made a feature-length documentary. It's called The Easy Bit, and it is essentially 6 men who have been through fertility treatment, telling their stories openly and honestly to the camera. As previously mentioned, I have a small cold black heart, and this got to me. This affected me. I'm not interested in having children whatsoever, but the stories of these men's struggles is affecting. It is available to rent now on Vimeo.com. We should probably get you some kind of vanity URL for this.
Yeah, I think there is one. I think it's vimeoondemand.com/the easy bit, if I remember correctly.
Okay. Do we need to research this? And if it's not that, edit you in with the actual
Hang on. I can
URL.
check very quickly.
All right.
I'm pretty
okay.
certain that's it. Vimeo.com/on-demand/the easy bit.
Okay, there you go. There's the URL to go and rent it from.
Yeah.
I worked on it a bit as well.
Yeah.
I filmed one of the interviews and was credited with additional editing, which I think means a chunk that I edited for Tom to show off at a fertility. I know you said fertility fest.
Yeah, it was.
Ended up in the movie as a whole. Yeah, go rent it. It's good.
Thank you.
There we go.
Yeah.
Plugs for this show. You can find us on Twitter. If you have seen Airport 75 or Electric Boogaloo, The Wild Untold Story of Canon Films, you can let us know at HYS Podcast on Twitter. You can go to Facebook, facebook.com/haveyouseenpodcast, and the email address is hyspodcast@gmail.com. I need to get that on like a placard above my camera, so I'm not trying to remember it, because my eye line for my notes is over here, but my eye line for the people is over here. Yeah, I think that's about it. We'll be back next week when we're talking about those films.
Awesome.
Anything else to add?
No, nothing at all. I'm good.
All right,
Yeah.
that's it then.
See you next week.
See you later.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.